Welcome to Adventures in EcoRelations. I am your host this evening, Danilia Castell. I am thrilled to be here with you and to be bringing what feels like two communities together. So I am the host of the Listening Field, and for those of you who are new to that term, it's a ceremonial space in multidimensional reality where humans and the nature elders, the elder trees, the rocks, the mountains, the trees that they know and love can meet together and dialogue, consult on matters of mutual interest and concern. And so I discovered the listening field back in 2020. It was one of the gifts that came from COVID moving around the planet, which also meant that I could no longer move around the planet and meet the nature elders that I'd been studying with. And so I discovered that based on this heart bond that we had been developing together over the past decade or more, on the strength of that love, I could open this ceremonial space, invite them to come in, and they would. And then we could speak heart to heart. So, of course, I found out that we can all do this. And so I began to host listening fields very, very regularly, bringing first bodies of water and the humans that loved them together. And then we brought fire. We opened fire fields. And then at the beginning of January 22, we opened what I'm now calling the listening field, where we predominantly call in the water, rock, and tree elders we know and love. But we've also had beautiful participation from the race of fairy, from the star nations, and from anyone else who presences themselves in the heart of the human who is in the listening field itself. So the impulse for this Zoomcast came because I began to understand that we didn't yet have enough places where we could really talk about these intimate relationships that we have with these who I call nature elders. And before I go any further, I just want to acknowledge that our indigenous cultures and races and people have been enjoying and respecting the voice and the wisdom of nature elders for thousands and thousands of years. And thankfully, we are now also realizing that we are wired for this, and that it is time now to bring the voices and the wisdom of the nature elders into our conversations, into our councils, and into beautiful spaces like this, where we get to just really honor and celebrate the special bond that lives between individual humans and individual trees. So I welcome Master Lady Kira Raa to the Zoom circle. I am just so thrilled to have you here. There's just great work that I've become aware of that you are doing where you are living now, including the Great Pyramid of Peace that has been recently erected last week. So truly, from the bottom of my heart, deep, deep welcome to you, Master Lady Kira Raa. And of course, you're going to be introducing us to the Grandmother Eucalyptus.
Well, first and foremost, thank you, my angel. I'm so loving the water right there behind you and the way that you've called this together. So thank you. And the gift of this moment, I feel like this is one of I see so many familiar faces. Thank you guys. What support. Really extraordinary to see so many beautiful ones here tonight, and so many beautiful ones that are friends that we're just remembering now. And what a blessing. And isn't that what the trees are? And isn't that what this moment is? It's a remembering. It's a conscious ascension into the best that we are, which is why everything is available for us to hear, like our trees, and of course, our planet, and so much more. So please, I am here, I am ready, I am open. Guide me.
Yay. So what I'd like to do always is to start with a sound from the big bowl. And this is just an opportunity for all of us to just drop in deep into that deep heart space, the center of ourselves, where we're balanced and ready to receive and to transmit whatever it is that is ours to do so. Hum, ah, oh, ah, oh. We give thanks for this day. We give thanks for the sacred breath of life, the flame of infinity in our hearts, the earth that fleshes our bones, the sacred water that flows and floats in us. And we give thanks to the great mystery who walks beside us and holds our hands. We acknowledge all of our human and nature relatives and elders who are leaning in this moment to share in our storytelling and the sharing of the sacred gifts that come from the deep intimacy that we can live with our nature elders and relatives. So we especially welcome the spirit and presence of beloved Grandmother Eucalyptus Tree and invite our dear sister Kira to begin to share with us where she lives, how she came to be on this land, and what was it like when you arrived.
Those are questions that take my breath away and at the same time ignite my breath. When this sacred, we were living in Uruguay, we had 3 pyramids there, not as large as this one. It was literally one of those nights where there was like that big star in the sky, and Shri and I heard Ecuador. To make a very long story short, 2 weeks later, we were here, and I had found this property online. And I will never forget the first time we went from the driveway or onto the driveway from the road. I just couldn't stop crying. This land is magnificent. It's in the middle. Many of you here have just recently been here. It's in the middle of the Andes Mountains. It's a pristine tropical jungle at 7,500 feet, which is extraordinary to have the best of all worlds. But when we first found it, it was so sad. Like I couldn't stop crying. And I remember when I walked up to what is now the home I live in, it's a 200-year-old authentic mud home, which is very rare to find. And I put my arms up, just as you would have. And I just held the corner. And I had just, it was just such a powerful moment of in one split second, it showed me what it is today. It was like, you know me, you feel me. And then for a full year, I walked by a spot in the mountain where it was the energy of breath. It felt like the energy of breath itself. And the way I describe it is, it was like, imagine a dragon with their paws crossed, right? Kind of gazing out of the side of its eye, looking at you going, who are you? And how come you see me? And for a year, I would walk by. And this was a beautiful cave area that we left covered in vines. We never opened it up. I respected all of it. And we discovered trees that were so covered and tired. It was like someone that had given up. That energy of I can't do it anymore. And so this land, without giving you all those details, because I know you feel it through me, this is one of the only feminine mountains in a very macho world. And this feminine mountain protected herself, as we do we not? She gained weight. She wasn't happy. She let herself go. She gave up. And she really felt that nobody cared. And that's what it felt like when we first were on this land. And there were trees that so many people here said to me, oh, you need to chop that down and get rid of that. And I was like, stop. I'm like, rather than kill trees, why don't we start talking to them? Why don't we invite the birds back? And we now have over 80 species here. We're like an Audubon paradise. And when the trees started speaking again, and I know there's some of you here that were just here, we have so much fruit here. We don't know what to do with it. We have so much bounty. And now that we have the pyramid, which has 30 years of proven science that doubles germination, imagine what that does for all the farmers here. Imagine how we can help this community, all because we're listening. And so it was 3 years in, and my dragon was it was really cute. Now I would walk by and it was like, who are you? Instead of who are you and how come you see me? It was more like, I'm really intrigued now, right? Year 3. Well, it was year 3 when this paradise, we are literally, the old highway is the path here. We were probably the brothel, hotel, God knows what, 200 years ago. Our museum is the original structure with the charcoal on the walls from what was the kitchen and where they brewed the liquor and all that good stuff. And that's now our museum. And the reason that's important is I will never forget the moment when I started hearing this weird sound. And I don't know if you've ever been in a fire. In the heart of a raging forest fire. But I remember I was up in my bedroom and I remember my dogs were scared. And it was that you get, I'm getting chills telling you the story. It's still hard for me to really, the intensity of it and how fast it happened and how Mother Nature just says, if it's meant to be, it's going to happen, and just stand aside. And we had what had been an innocent mistake of one of our workers who didn't put out properly a controlled burn, construction burn from the day before. And it was down by the road. And what I can share with you is I will never forget the sound of hearing trees scream. It haunts me to this day. It's this it's that snapping, cracking that to the human ear that is not paying attention doesn't hear that these trees are screaming. And that all the animals that are living in there are running for their lives and they're terrified. And I was sitting in my room and I heard the snapping and the crackling and went outside and got my animals safe right away, right? Isn't it about humans and animals? And so I got all my animals safe because they were very scared. They didn't know what to do. They were terrified. And by the time I got out to what is our museum now, literally at that edge, this fire had already grown from the road up probably about 10 acres so far, and heading toward where our grandmother eucalyptus is. And in this moment, I am watching beautiful eucalyptus trees, little ones, because it hadn't hit the old growth forest yet. And I'm watching this whole thing happen. And I don't know if any of you have ever been in that moment, but I always share, it was my Captain Dan moment, because it was the moment where we bonded with our community here. And all of a sudden, these beautiful people that are all about 5 feet tall start coming with their children and their coffee cans and their plastic buckets and their water. And I kid you not, they all start coming. And they are, and they're just bringing water, and they're all over the mountain, and the grandmas are coming, and the men are coming, and people just start showing up because they knew this was the last old growth forest here in this valley. We are the last one. We're it.
Kira, let's have a look at some of these relatives. Martin, can you bring the slideshow up for us, please?
Stop me at any time. You can tell my passion is really here. Okay, so what you're staring at here, this is actually an old black walnut tree that is on our moat. Right to the left of me there, you see where my left foot going to the left, and right, you're just off camera, that's the moat. And that's important to know because the fire came all the way up to here, to where you're seeing me walking right now. And this black walnut tree survived it as well. But isn't it beautiful? We just recently put prayer flags on that. So this is
beautiful.
Tosa Blue Mountain. Yeah. I'm constantly climbing trees. If you don't know where I am, look up.
Well, just taking a moment here to just really, when we can see the bark this close up, it's just a moment to, we can close our eyes. Why don't we all just take a moment and just connect heart to heart with this black walnut, remembering what it looked like in its full image in the previous slide, and then just sensing and feeling into its body. Just offering a greeting. As always, we wait until the tree responds back. Thank you. Let's go to the next slide. So now what we have is a little bit of what, Kira was talking about.
And what you're seeing here, you see the hat right there, and just off the camera, you're starting to see coming in one of the grandmas who was really amazing. And you see her in her little pink sweater and hat there. So this is after we have been bailing. You see how he's carrying that, you see that little, like a paint bucket. This is what they showed up with, like these field buckets. And we were just all bailing. But you see what's happening here is that the rocks are starting to come forward. And the mountain is starting to reveal itself. And this was in that same year 3 where that dragon's breath was starting to say, now I'm feeling kind of good. And this all happened in the same time.
The next slide, please, Martin. There we go. There's the woman you're talking about.
Grandmother Eucalyptus, if you look, so you see the man in the orange and yellow, look to your left, right up there, you see a young, that's Grandmother Eucalyptus right there, just after we had put her out.
Wow.
See all the people there, and some that didn't make it. And there's me with her today. But this one, if we're staying here now, so what you're seeing here is, this is me looking up because she's that tall. Get a close up, look at the left here. You can see her blood. You see that? You see that? And every one of those, you see that black scorching, that was literally a torch. And if you look to the right, especially all the way in the right of the frame, you see the explosions. Those were literally explosions. This beautiful wisdom keeper, this beautiful empowered being, like so many women, said, I will stand in the fire and I will take what you throw at me, but I will stand. And she is a living miracle. And as you can see in this picture, it's really showing you the beating she took and how huge she is.
There we go.
This is a beautiful photo because you can see how vast our valley is. And I've climbed up pretty far here, and you see again on all of her trunks here, you see those everywhere, you see those black, those were literally flames that were exploding through her. And everything about her is just magnificent, because if you look between the middle post, the one that my back is against, and the one to the farthest right, you see those branches right there. You see that really tall, what looks like a single post coming up between the two of them there.
Yep.
That is new growth that should never have happened. Completely not only did she completely regenerate herself, She now has babies all over the mountain and has said, I took your fire, but the truth is the truth, and I will stand in my integrity. And because she absorbed so much of the flame, it's what saved the mountain. Because that moat that you just saw where the black walnut was, the moat was the only reason the fire stopped. And those firemen you see took over an hour to get here. And it was because of her standing there. And there you go, another, you can really see what's going on here with her. And look at the amount, and then you see the new life. You see in the bottom left now. So you see this the limb that's coming out, that's covered in the flame and was exploded, and then growing out of it, that's new tree, that's new life coming out of that. And when you hold her, and I know that many of you have held her that are here tonight, and you're holding her now, you know, inviting you to just feel the spin. Because the other unique thing here is that we are able to track the strands, the genetic strands of these old growth trees here, because they're so old. And her specific genetic code is the spiral. So as you even look at the way things spiraled on her, and notice your heart, notice your throat. Feel the air and look through her into the blue of the sky and the air. Because it smells like eucalyptus and pine 24/7. That's all we smell. And
Kira, can you tell us about the moment? I remember when you first shared with me about her, the moment, there was a moment when you were up against her and the flames were around her, and you and she had a conversation in that moment. Can you share a bit more about that particular moment?
Oh, with pleasure. And you know, the one thing I will share with you also is what led to that moment. This was the fire. I had been down at the temple screaming. It was this Captain Dan moment. You know, it's that one where you're screaming up to the sky and it's like, you know, I have given you my life, God. You know, why? You know, why? And then it was this power of for the first time ever being able to access her. Remember that this mountain was inaccessible. We never thought we would get on the side of the mountain. We thought it was just going to stay inaccessible forever. We thought that was our mission until the fire happened. And when I went up with her, and it was so amazing. Like, forgive me, I'm emotional bringing it back again. But when I was with her, it was so beautiful because she was so radiant that she was ready to open all the mysteries, to open her heart, to welcome me to the mountain, to know that that love was secure. And it was in that moment that right above where you're seeing this tree right now, literally, the only way I can describe it is literally all of the grass is parted. And she revealed the heart. She revealed the two caves that now people come and meditate in, the cave of clarity and the cave of creation. And it was a beautiful moment of a reminder that we are at a time where we must remember who we are in the essence of our oneness with the all. To remember that these are not beings that do not feel. Quite the contrary. The wisdom that we are trying to attract into ourselves is sitting right here. And all we have to do is just say yes and remember. So thank you for asking.
Yes, you know, our nature relatives and elders, there's a number of different ways that they can be our teachers. So in some instances, they are incredible mirrors to us, right? I know for myself in my own journey, in the first decade that first tree elders and then water elders were my teacher. What both of them were able to do for me, for my own healing, was to reflect to me my own wholeness. They saw me fully. They didn't, and they accepted and loved me fully. It was the first time I've ever experienced unconditional love. I didn't know what that was from a human being. It was my tree elders and water elders who showed me that by example. And so I really hear that, you know, that moment when you were wondering if she was going to stay and stand, and you were asking her to stay, please stay, right? That, and you call it your Captain Dan moment, right? It's when we get to step up, and they've already stepped up, but they're holding that mirror for us to step into, because they remember our wholeness. They
Oh,
never forgot it, right? So that's, and then of course the other way that they teach us is through who they are individually, which has been a huge part of my journey, is to meet, I've built relations with more than 50 different bodies of water, trees, and mountains around the world, right? All individual, and they all have unique spirits, characters, and voices, different medicine, and different reasons for us to become acquainted. So I'm hearing a lot of threads in this case that, really one of the purposes for you to come together and the fire to come together in that moment was really an invitation to step up. And also, as you've shared, you were able, the rest of the mountain was revealed. So what was burned away was protective layer potentially that then was going to reveal connections with the stone people, the cave people, the mountain people that could then happen for Tosa Blue Mountain. So just really the timing of things, right? And why it might have happened at that particular time.
oh, well, absolutely. It was part of that opening, that dragon's breath opening. If we could stop the share for one moment,
Mm-hmm.
I just want to interject that while we were showing the picture that had this beautiful grandmother, that what I'm showing you all right now, I want you to see, because she's actually holding it in one of the pictures. I want to show you this. So when they all came, when all of the grandmothers came, and I'm just gonna hold on, I'm gonna back up from my desk just a little bit so you can see this. And is this beautiful? So what this is a very specific weed, tree, viney thing that grows here. And I really should know the name and I don't, so forgive me. And what happened was that beautiful woman in the pink sweater that you saw, when she came, and I was in the middle of my Captain Dan moment, and I was, helping get the water and everybody's coffee cans. I'm like, oh my God, she shoves these in my hand, basically looking at me like, what kind of indigenous woman are you that you didn't start beating out this fire with these sticks immediately? It was like, shame on you. And at least you didn't use them on me, right? And so you see this, look, that's the charcoal from me beating out the flames. And this became the bond for all the women. This was the moment that they welcomed me into their heart. And this is when I became part of that community. And I bound it when Sri and I were very blessed to be received by the Governor Eugene and India and all the other governors that have received us and all of the other magical things that have happened there. This Rudraksha was blessed for us by the head priest in Varanasi at the Shiva Linga temple. And so I brought the unified field, the unified presence of the water of Mother Ganga into these beautiful women, because this is very uniquely the Indigenous women's tool. And so I've kept it here with all of my other, this is, believe it or not, that's a 75-pound tri-shul that was made for me that I can actually carry. And so I keep it here with all of this as a symbol of Grandmother Eucalyptus, but also a symbol of this entire mountain. Because what is so unique here, and it's unique in this part of Ecuador, is that we have the only feminine temple in the entire Incan Empire. And it's an egg. It's the Machu Picchu of Ecuador, but it's feminine, Ingapurka, right? And then this mountain, when the Cañari came, and the Cañari name for our mountain is Jinquir. And so Jinquir, they were like, oh, it even sounds like Kira. And so they were so excited that Sri and I had arrived, and that the dragon of the mountain welcomed us, because that's what happened after the fire. Was after the fire, when I walked by, it was open me. I want to show you everything. And we found petroglyphs, artifacts, more caves. I mean, we have lion heads and sculptures. And so what Grandmother Eucalyptus did was say, and she revitalized all of the land We, like I said, we are a miracle here. People show up and they cannot believe what has happened here. Since we consecrated the pyramid on the 22nd, we have had over 400 people a weekend showing up here. I mean, we went from 20 to 400, and the miracles that are happening and the connection with nature that even the locals forgot. Because sometimes when you live in it, you take it for granted, right?
Yes, yes, that's very true. So let's just take a moment to stop and just breathe together because we've received a lot of sacred information. And the breath just gives us a chance to integrate it and let it drop a little bit. And as you know, we're going to have some opportunity for questions and comments. So this also allows for those to rise. So, one of the things that I am aware of in my work as a nature ambassador and a communicator and a mentor, you know, helping people learn how to communicate with water, rock, and trees, is that each person's relationship is unique. So every person who bonds and connects and speaks with your grandmother eucalyptus, right, could invariably have a very different experience, relationship, and know her even as a different character, right? Just and a different spirit. And to me, that's just a beautiful example of the diversity that we need in all things. And so as part of these Zoomcasts, I always like to ask people some very specific questions about how you experience communication from the grandmother. And so, for those of you who might be new to this, some of the ways are we just know. So, that's an intuitive way. We just know something. All of a sudden, we know something now we didn't know 1 second ago, and then we know it comes from that elder. Other times we get physical sensations in our body, energy moves. We can have pain sometimes. All of a sudden, somewhere we can be guided and feel like we actually want to stretch and move. I'm clairaudient, so telepathy is a primary way, and so I hear the voice of the elder in my head. So I actually hear words without sound. Sometimes they provoke memories, and that memory helps me remember something else. And so again, they push against me energetically. So I'm just curious for you, Kira, how do you experience, you know, when you say the grandmother said this to me or talked to me, how does it happen for you?
Well, thank you for asking. You're so eloquent. I love listening to you. So, when we bring our hands to our heart, what I want to share is that for me, as the master I am, as you are, I simply shift into the field of potentiality whereby that being is in its wholeness and I am able to sit and communicate directly one on one without any need for any form of anything other than a oneness experience.
Hmm. Yeah, beautiful. So I would say that, you know, it's very similar to what happens in the listening field, where we open up that conscious field of resonance together, and we can adjust the focus to just be with one individual, and then I can also do that with someone else, with some other nature elder who's in the field. So yeah, thank you. So there's a field of oneness, and I also know that for myself, um, as a singer, I'm a very specific kind of singer. I'm a sacred singer, and I call my style sound weaving. And I actually discovered it with my nature elders, with water and rivers specifically. They really helped generate this gift that I have. But mostly what the sound weaving does, I've done a little bit of it here tonight, is it opens a field, a heart field of resonance, which again, once that's opened with any human or animal or nature elder, right? We can understand each other. We're speaking the same language. So yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Um, I wanted to just ask one more thing. And how would you say that you have changed personally because of this intimate bond that you have with the land, with the trees, with the waters? And of course, you go every day, as you say, you go up on the mountain every day. So, yeah, how do you think that you have changed personally because of this relations?
Well, what I know, first and foremost, for those of you that know or have followed Sri and
Mm.
I have reversed age 20 years. I was told in 2019, right before I went to Bhutan, that I'd be dead by that Christmas. I have theoretically 12 tumors in my back that no longer cause me any sense of issue. I am in better shape than I was. I am 62 years old. I run up and down these mountains better than the 30-year-olds that are around me. I spend an hour on the treadmill every morning after I have walked the mountain to receive what she shares with me. I attribute that 100%, 100 and infinite% to the blessing of this land calling me down in Uruguay, because we never thought we'd leave Uruguay. And that was like, oh my God, how are we going to do this? And oh my God, and it was just one of those, okay, the universe is called. And so what I know is that I wake up every morning and say, thank you. I can't believe I get to live here. I can't believe it. It's like, oh my God, what did I do? Whatever I did right, whatever other life, thank you. Because it's incredible. I mean, there's no 5G, there's no air traffic, there are no chemtrails. Okay, this is pure, pure, pure. I mean, and the people and the connection to the land. And we're so blessed that we grow about 90% of our food and it's all organic. And so now we have a pyramid. Like, oh my gosh, could this land be any more magical? And so that's what I always invite people to do, is to come back here and to remember that magic is real, to stop limiting ourselves with that self-sabotage cycle, right? Fear, doubt, hesitancy, fear, doubt, hesitancy, fear, doubt, hesitancy, self-sabotage cycle that supports that victim consciousness. And so why not just say yes to the gifts that are saying yes to you? You're championing something at a moment that it must be championed. And all of the champions are coming together. I am here as the sea of neutrality, right? This is that moment. How wonderful.
Love it. I love it. I love that piece. Say yes to the gifts that are saying yes to you. It's like, yeah, that's totally my journey. I'd like to open up the mic now. And is there anyone who has any questions or comments that you would like to make? And if you're willing, we're going to bring you on screen with us.
Come on in.
Yeah. You can raise your digital hand oh, there you are. Astaria, welcome. Martin's going to spotlight you and bring you in with us.
Namaste, beloved ones. I just wanted to offer my gratitude to the beauty and harmony of this moment, and both your hearts, Master Lady Kira Raa and Daniela, are in the unified field. I feel the beauty of your coming together. So I thank you for that, and for everyone who is here. And I also wanted to honor the grandmother eucalyptus trees that stood the ground and were able to stand in their integrity and be a witness to the truth and the higher light. So sending love to those beautiful trees and trees everywhere on our planet, as well as human beings. And yes, together we are better with the animals, and love you all. So just a big namaste.
Thank you, Astaria. Just while you're here, can you tell me, where are you coming in from today? What land do you live on?
Sure. So geographically, I'm in Cleveland, Ohio. But my heart is always with Tosa Blue Mountain and Sri and Kira and all of my Tosa family. I've been a student of Sri and Kira since 2013, but probably a few lifetimes before that.
Beautiful. And who would you say in Cleveland? Do you have a favorite tree, or are you bonded with? Who would you say you're bonded with in Cleveland?
I do. Thanks for letting me share. Oh my God, the trees must be talking. I have one every day when I go out. My little thing is I take out the garbage every day. And there's this tree, and on the way back, we have this little thing. I hug the tree and I just tell it I love you, and I give it a kiss every once in a while. Nobody's watching. Well, actually, a couple times I've been watched by people, and they're like, "What is she doing?" Like, I'm hugging a tree. What else would I be doing? So yeah, obviously that one heard you. So thank you.
Well, I always ask because we have them, right? Everybody has favorite trees. They have places where we go, and sometimes we go there because we wish solace, or we need somebody to talk to. And certainly one of the things that I always like to remind people is that we speak to trees, and always make sure that you pause and breathe and wait for tree to respond to you, because they do. And sometimes it's subtle. Sometimes it's just a knowing that tree heard you and gave you a thumbs up or sent you a little pulse of love. But I encourage you to pause and just slow down and see if tree wants to say something back to you as well. So thank you, Astaria.
It's beautiful. Thank you for that gift. I will.
Yeah,
Mwah, to everyone.
welcome. You're welcome. All right, the next person. Martin, can you see who that is? I don't have my glasses on. Anastara?
Ashtar.
There you are. Welcome.
Namaste. Thank you. I am so grateful and loving the timing. We were just blessed, my partner and I, to be called to a property in Myrtle Creek, Oregon that has been abused and neglected for years. We're completely redoing the house, and the trees here, I felt them calling me. I felt the land calling me before I first saw it, and he had already purchased it. And we have a gorgeous black walnut, I believe a ponderosa pine, and some others. And so these trees, I've been here only 2 weeks, and they're guiding me, asking me to place sacred objects, to spend time with them. And so I'm all grubby as I have been removing ivy and blackberries. I think it's a ponderosa pine. I just heard it this morning saying, I went and gave it some love, and I heard, please clean me up. And so I've got, all these giant piles of brush, and I know as I work on restoring this land is here to restore me as well. I also have had physical issues, but I just keep taking the next step, and so I'm just blown away and loving this experience of being with you all today and receiving this.
Thank you so much for sharing. And what you've really touched on is something that's really important for me, and that is that sacred reciprocity, that happens. When I get called by a tree elder or a nature relative, I'll sit with them and I'll say, I heard you, I'm here, and how can I help? Right? Or if I've come to share my heart with them, I always make sure that I ask if there's any, is there something that I can do for you? So always asking, and then tree will let you know. And I simply say, I use the word boon. It's a very old-fashioned word, but I'm always called to use it. If there is a boon that I can do for you, please let me know in words if you can. But images and sensations are fine. I can translate those as well. And then again, I just pause and wait for tree to talk to me, to make itself known to me. Often they're just like, no, thanks. It's just really great to have you here with me. And one other thing that I'll just share with you as well, since you're in the process of restoring and regenerating the property and the land, is that it's really awesome that when you make plans about the landscape, to go and let the elder know, like find out who's like the head tree on your land. There'll always be a grandmother or grandfather who's kind of like the elder. And I go and I do a ceremony with them and I say, hey, my husband and I were considering doing this, this, and this. What do you feel about that? And I ask them kind of one question at a time. And so that way we're always, developing things in collaboration, in co-creation with them, because sometimes there's an effect that happens when we do things, human things that we think are okay for us, but they have a longer vision, right? They've lived longer and they're wiser, and they can see that, oh, down the road, maybe that choice might not be so great for the others who live in the community on the land. And so they can help us, right? Guide and adapt our choices so that it's always going to serve the humans, the animals, and and the nature elders as well. So thank you so much for being so conscious and for hearing and responding to your nature elders. It's beautiful, beautiful to hear. Thank you, sister.
Thank you.
Pamela. Pamela Turson actually is an artist, and she's our guest next month on the 27th. And we'll say more about that later. So welcome, Pam. Really awesome to have you here with us today.
Thank you. Actually, I want to start with gratitude because this is such a fabulous experience, and your story, Kira, is about the most fascinating story I've ever heard. I raised my hand to make a request, but before I make the request or offer my idea, I wanted to say that it's not only in beautiful remote places where you are called by the land and the trees, because, and I'll probably discuss this more next month, but I was called to live in a specific part of Brooklyn.
Right on.
The unceded territory of the Lenape people. And the land here, although it's a built environment, is very powerful, very powerful. And so are the trees. There's a 600-acre park and a, I don't know, 250-acre botanic garden, right, like a 10-minute walk away. So and now we're just now kind of, we're rehabilitating our backyard,
Right. Yeah. Right.
which has been untended, thank goodness, for probably 50 years. So there's a lot going on, and I've worked with the land also. I contacted the land keeper, and I did quite a lot of ceremony, but it's a good reminder from the people here to continue asking questions and getting guidance. So my idea is, just as we tuned into the black walnut tree earlier, can we please do that with Grandmother Eucalyptus?
Please.
Please.
Yes, I will share. Thank you, Pam, for that request. I did bring it up when we were connecting earlier. I said, last month we did that for the first time. Was we opened up a listening field with the gum tree, and I thought, well, and we have time. We totally have time. We did the whole thing in like 5 minutes. I mean, the listening field is normally about an hour and a half, but it was so beautiful and wonderful. So I say, yes, let's do it. So I'm going to invite Martin. Can you bring us all into gallery together?
How beautiful. Thank you, Pam. I love Brooklyn. I'm so glad you're there.
I'm just going to get my rattle. 1 second. Oh, we're just going to leave her there, all spotlit. Okay, Martin, can you? Yeah, there we go. All right. Beautiful, beautiful. So I'm just going to invite each of us to just close our eyes and to withdraw our attention from the screen. And connect your attention with your breath as you know how. And just center it in your heart. So let's just take a few moments to just breathe and feel in our own hearts. So I'm just going to presence myself on Mother Earth. And then I'm just going to use a very simple language. I call in, and I'm actually going to name my tree elder. So I'm going to bring her into the field. And then I'm going to invite you, Kira, to unmute yourself and to do the same thing. So you're going to presence yourself on the traditional land you're on and where you are geographically, and then using the words I call in and Grandmother Eucalyptus. And always we take one breath pause after we call in an elder while they arrive in the field. And so this is an opportunity for each of us to communicate heart to heart with the Grandmother Eucalyptus. And often just, I send a wave of love, I ping pong it from my heart to the grandmother and wait till it comes back until we're in what I call heart link. And then you're welcome to say anything you wish to her and or ask questions and or offer your love to her. And it just unfolds in whatever way it's meant to for each of you. So here we go. Beloved Mother, Father, God, Creator, Great Spirit, great host of ascended masters, great angelic host, beloved race of fairy and the nature spirits, beloved Mother Earth, your sister, Mother Ocean, Brother Wind, Grandfather Sun, and great-grandmother and great-grandfather Ether. Blessings and greetings, beloved. We are here in this sacred time to open a listening field with you and with a couple of our nature elders. Thank you for holding space with us. As always, you are welcome to speak heart to heart with any one of us that you feel called to. We will do our best to hear and to answer. I am Danalia. I am on the unceded territory of the Quatsino Nation in a small village known as Cole Harbour, Vancouver Island, North Canada. I call in Nokupila, tree elder from Cape Town, South Africa. Welcome, Nokupila. Kira, I call on you to call in grandmother.
Taking in a deep cleansing Ave Sa breath. The beloved one that carries the grandmother of all the eucalyptus spiral ignition is already here and present. I invite that energy now to align with this experience of potentiality in this moment now, in this knowing and presence, so that the all may receive. I call in Grandmother Eucalyptus.
Beloved sacred ones, beloved Nokopila, the all-healing mother tree of Cape Town, South Africa. Thank you for being here with beloved Grandmother Eucalyptus. We now take some personal time with either one of these elders, speaking heart to heart in whatever manner we are guided to by our own hearts. We will take 2 minutes and I'll ring the bell when we complete. You're also welcome to turn off your video if you choose. So just offering your gratitude to whoever you've been dialoguing with for what you have received and for what you have given or created together. And then we traditionally take a moment and just put in the chat what we received as a message. So first of all, we say who responded, because sometimes it's another nature elder who comes in other than who's called in. So who responded and what did they say to you? Only if you choose to share. Just going to take a moment to do that myself. So take a moment if you'd like to read what people have put in. Beautiful. And let's just take, let's bring Kira back on. And yeah, we have time for just maybe one person to offer. Pam, you had made the request. Have you got something that you'd like to share with us about what you heard, or felt, or saw, or knew with Grandmother?
Sure. And this, I think this is a case where it was what I saw was what, or experienced was what I needed for my own healing at this time. So I was inside of her as she was, I was inside of her as she was engulfed in the fire. And I saw her fierceness, her determination, her protection of the mountain, and her strength, almost like a Kali figure, like a goddess. But when I asked her what her mission was, meaning like her essence, her true nature, it was this warm blanket of nurturing the mountain. And as we drew to a close, she offered, for me to contact her when I need to have that strength and being able to defend, protect, speak out for what is right.
Hi. Hi. Interesting. I had a very physical experience with her as well. She came into my spine and she gave me strength in my spine. I've been told to grow my tree body. And so she came in there and she straightened me up like a true grandmother does. And it's true, I couldn't differentiate her from the valley. She is, that's her domain. And she's the king, the queen, the la reine, right, who serves her people, and she's doing that so beautifully. So thank you so much, Pam, for asking us to do that. And we're going to close. So any final words, Kira, that you would like to say before we just have a couple of announcements?
Well, thank you for asking. And thank you for that field. That was just such a gorgeous blessing. And I think the word would be up-level mastery presence, that what we are all in the midst of right now is all spines are aligning into a new way of being. And in this moment, we have come together, modeling the new earth, being the new earth, not just talking about it, saying yes to the active presence of the abundant flow. And so I am grateful to be a part of that. And I thank you all for the blessing and the support.
Yay! So honored, so honored. And I still feel like we've just started something.
Agreed.
There's more to come. So I'm going to do one last little piece. I'm just going to invite us to just come back, close our eyes and come back into our own heart space, because Grandmother Eucalyptus and Noko Pila, the all-healing mother tree, are still here. So, beloveds, we thank you so much for joining us in this field tonight. And before we release our attention with you, I'd like to offer each of you this blessing. May your next and every encounter with human beings be filled with love and respect, deep listening, and of course, playfulness. And so it is.
And so it is.
Thank you. So we're just going to bring up, Martin, can you bring up the slides, please? So thank you, everyone, for joining us. We host monthly listening fields. The next one actually is next Thursday on October the 6th. And this one, the group question that we ask of the nature elders that we call in, is something that I usually tune into much closer to the time. And I will tell you that I just found out that next Thursday we have a very, very special listening field. I have put it on the website. I won't take time to talk about it now, but if you go to the listeningfield.life, you're going to see what that focus is going to be. And then the next slide, Martin, we also do something once a month. We unpack the messages from the nature elders. And these ones that we're unpacking came through World Unity Week. That was back before this time. Were you part of that, Kira? I was trying to remember. Were you World Unity Week? You were, right?
I was actually at the closing ceremony right when you were there, honey.
Yes, exactly. I thought so. This time is really telescoping.
You guys,
So
huh?
we unpack these messages and we find what's relevant for us now from the elders and the call to action. And so air, sacred air, is our who we're unpacking from this month. And the next slide, as I've already mentioned, is we have Pam as our guest next month, and she's going to be sharing about her relationship with her the neighborhood tree elders. So thank you, Martin, for all your help this evening. Thank you, Jess, for all your help. And thank you to everyone who has been here with us. Let's come back to gallery view just so we can see each other. Feel free to unmute and just make your voice known. So let's remove the spotlights. There we go. And remove it. There we are.
We have to release the nature elder. I mean, we have to release everybody.
Hey,
Close the circle. I mean, close the circle.
I'm sorry. Are you talking about the humans or are you talking about the listening field?
The listening field and all the
we did that already.
Spirits and
we did release.
Did?
Yes, you missed
it.
It's okay, sweetheart. You know what? When we let go of all these rules, things get a lot easier. Relax into the perfection.
Oh, it's good. A little ritual never hurt anybody. Thank you, everyone. Feel free to unmute as you say goodbye and just let your voice be heard in the field.
Goodbye.
Love you. Bye, guys.
Namaste. We love you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Love you.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
Peace.
Thank you. Beautiful. Aw. Oh, thank you.